All right, away we go. It is the Nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com, brought to you as always by our good friends at Galactic Fried Chicken. Visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get yourself to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off your fried chicken, your tendies, your chicken dippers, your mac and cheese, your fried potatoes, all kinds of good stuff. And they will get you taken care of. Or you can go to the app and they will bring it to you pretty much everywhere in the 275 loop. They're not going to take it to Aaron in Athens.
No.
But they'll bring it to you. All right. It's Aaron's favorite. The viewers' favorite shows are Sunday on the AAC recap version. Aaron's favorite show every week is Talkin About Talkin.
Talking about talking.
And that's where we're at. It's Tuesday. UC once again has double dipped. Luke Fickle and Wes Miller both talking on Tuesdays. So Tuesday nights we talk about talking. Aaron, you watched you were a culinary wizard tonight. You made Crunchwrap Supremes for the family.
I did.
That took a little more time than you anticipated. So you had to watch everything on 1.75 speed to get ready for the Talking About Talking episode.
When I got to basketball, I was even able to move it to 2 times speed.
Ooh.
I couldn't do 2 times speed on Arquan. He talks very fast.
Yeah.
But I did move it to 2 times speed.
Luke was in a better mood than I thought he would be today.
I concur.
I thought he would be a little salty. I was glad to be able to help him out on understanding how to stop the triple option. Sometimes it's good for me to give him advice like that. He always he can't help himself. I think it's his part of his weekly routine is figuring out at least one point in the press conference to talk shit to me.
I mean, because he's pretty much is in a place where you're defenseless.
Yeah. And I usually just,
you just have to roll over and let him rub your belly. There's
what am I going to do?
Nothing you can do.
Are you telling me how to defend the triple option? Yeah, I am. I'm offering my advice that if you can stop the dive, you're in a pretty good place against the triple option. What did you take from the Luke Fickle press conference?
Obviously, he's moving on. I thought he was real quick to try and not talk about UCF. But obviously with the questions thereafter, he's going to have to go back and talk about UCF. The triple option keeps him up at night. I did laugh as he doesn't sound like he has any consideration for ever scheduling a triple option team if he can help it after they leave the AAC again. Other than that, I thought that it was interesting to talk about both Ben Bryant and not really needing to talk to him about the outside noise. I know he claims that he doesn't pay attention to anything at all during the week, and he lives under a rock. He claims that the students don't live under a rock like he does. And I know that that's his thing, his go-to saying, but I'm sure he has an inkling from somebody that the fan base is freaking out every week. He has to hear people from the stands or something. There's no shot that he doesn't think that people are clamoring.
I think the best part is he came this close to saying that his 7-year-old or 8-year-old twins are clamoring for Evan.
That was pretty funny.
He came this close to what would have been great would have been like, well, I don't really hear it from the outside noise, but I come home and Amy's like, when are you going to play Evan? That would have been.
Yikes.
You want to talk about comedy gold? That would have been comedy gold.
It also would have been definitely a comment that would have a ripple effect in the locker room.
Oh, he couldn't say it.
No.
It would have been like if it was just deadpanned as a joke.
Everyone but Ben.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious, but you can't do it.
And then as they talked a little bit about the running back situation, I feel like I got way more out of Ryan Montgomery than I did out of Luke. So we'll get to that when we get to the Ryan Montgomery stuff.
Well, what I think Luke did kind of give, if you're piecing things together, was that they were passing so much, they had to have their pass blocking backs in the game as much as possible.
And again, that was an answer that I think was answered better, more clearly through Ryan.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Luke's not gonna like tip his hand on why he had who in the like. It's just not gonna happen with a game coming up on the following Saturday. Like he's not gonna. That's how coaches are, man. Like,
I mean, of course, anytime that way. And every Tuesday, I'm always aware of there's about 80% is coach speak I have to wade through to get to anything worth talking about talking. So
I think he's more insightful than most, but he's just not going to give away anything that's going to help the opponent that week. That's how coaches are.
Wes was a little more defensive on that front today, I think. But
basketball coaches at this time of the year are neurotic. They all think their team is terrible. Every one of them.
We'll get to Wes as well. But
yeah,
Arquan came up next, and I thought it was of note that he had glowing reviews on Taj, on Sammy, and on Jaquan Shepard.
Yeah,
and I think that coming from a leader, coming from a guy who has seen some dudes come through this program, I think that the fact that, and I hadn't even given it a ton of thought, but the fact that we're not talking about Taj Ward, the fact that we're not Taj is honestly, I believe PFF has him ranked
the highest rated defensive back on the team.
Yeah. Sammy Anderson, we're not talking about these guys. Even Jaquan, I mean, I know he was a big question mark as we went into fall camps.
He's probably, as outside of probably Corleone, and maybe even starting to surpass Corleone as my biggest surprise of the season.
Yeah.
Because he's getting better every week.
Well, there was an early drive where they tried to pick on him in the UCF game, very early in the game, and they went at him twice. It might have been the first drive of the game, even.
It was.
And they went at him twice, and twice he's shut it down. And I looked over at Brent, and I'm like, "Is this the Jaquan Shepard game?" Didn't turn out.
They got away from that real quick.
Yeah, as they went to they went at Arquan.
Well, yes and no. They went after the scheme because the scheme calls for Arquan to be 8 yards off the line of scrimmage.
And we broke a ton down with the free 8 offense.
Free access, yeah. Like that's so. I asked Arquan a lot about that today because I was really curious because that's such a tough spot to be in if you're a corner, especially corners recruited to this program are physical, like they recruit physical, handsy, aggressive corners. That's what they look for. But in that, like we talked about last night, in that field role, you get it's almost impossible to just play everybody press man. Because if anybody gets beat, you're in
there's no one behind
huge
him.
trouble.
Right.
So the field guy is generally off. And what you have to be careful on is teams baiting you. And what I mean by that is taking free access on those quick hitters. And then as soon as you try to jump it, it's a double move. And the guy's running down the sidelines for a 60-yard touchdown. Like there's a very fine line between being aggressive and doing what is asked in your assignment. I think it's been difficult for Arquan because I think he is a guy that wants to get up there, and you can do that in the nickel. You can get up there and get handsy because everything is in kind of short area spaces in the slot. I thought he handled it well. I did want to get his thoughts though on like, is it difficult for you to be the guy that's being asked to give the cushion, to give the free access, and then not get jumpy?
Well, and that's different than the role he played last year, right?
Yeah, because he was in the nickel.
Yeah, right. So
Kobe was in the Kobe was kind of we talked. This is another thing. Kobe is kind of built for that field corner role.
Yeah,
his ability to to knock the ball out, to be aggressive, to be physical as a closer, a guy that's closing space, is a lot different than a guy that needs to be hands on at the line of scrimmage. Kobe's kind of better at that than he was when they put him at the boundary and asked him to play press man, which is really what allowed Sauce to shoot up the depth chart, because Kobe just was a better fit at the field.
So then you had Ryan Montgomery, who had the only good run of the day. It turned out to be a touchdown. I don't believe we talked about this last night. I did notice it during the game, but he certainly used the referee as a pick. I thought it was funny that he mentioned that during the conference, during the presser today. Also talked about how the scheme was different. There were more guys in the box than apparently they had seen in any of UCF's film, which
it still
makes sense, but
no, it doesn't.
You should still be able to figure out on the fly, make adjustments to scheme to break that.
No,
somehow.
You have to go over the top of them to make them loosen up. And that's eventually what happened, right? Because
when they started running the quick offense, yes, that's exactly what happened. And I don't know why they didn't do that sooner, I guess, because that was the best drive they had all day and the most efficient drive they had all day. But
I think we're at a point, I think you just go all in right away on being a passing offense. Like, to make a Bengals reference, what the Bengals and Joe Burrow did several weeks back when they decided we're going to take the ball and get the ball first and get down the field. Was that the Jets game that they did that?
I don't know. I've been trying to block the Bengals out of my head.
But you get my point, where it's like, okay, we're going to set the tone with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Okay, if you're Cincinnati, you've got Ben Bryant. You set the tone with Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker and the tight ends and Jaden Thompson and the wide receivers. Like, you set the tone that way. Force defenses to spread out, and then you can run the ball. But I don't know. There was some things at practice today. That's kind of French. I don't want French.
Yeah, I don't know what you were going for there.
I think we could see
that's
some changes to emphasize the run game come Saturday against the Navy.
I mean, you could have just gone with maybe a little Oktoberfest in November.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean. But Oktoberfest is actually celebrated in September.
Look, I'm just throwing things out there. I think people get the reference.
Yeah, it comes off. I do accents well. German is not a good one for me.
Ja, sehr gut.
Oh, mama, das ist gut.
And then I thought it was interesting that he mentioned that Corey and Miles weren't played as much because they're still learning the offense.
I don't know how much of that is from Miles has been here. I think for Corey, because of
going off what he said.
I know, but I think for Corey, that is a real thing.
Sure.
He got here after the spring.
Yes.
He was injured. They had to get him up to 100%.
Yes.
And then as the season started, he's dealt with a couple other things. Like, Corey has not really had a normal schedule to be all the way up to speed. And where does that – it's running the ball, fairly simple. Here's the ball. Here's your gap.
Find the hole. Right.
Find the hole. But pass blocking and picking up blitzes and all of the other stuff is a lot more complicated, especially when you've got Chuck and Monty that have been here combined like 14 years.
Yeah.
Like, those guys have been here forever.
Real talk.
Right.
But That's what I had on my notes from the football guys. As for Wes, the notes I had, he wants to keep doing what they're doing, and he thinks that this team has a real shot to be a pretty good team. Which again, that's largely coach speak, but I wouldn't expect him to say, "Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this year's team."
Right.
But if you're trying,
I just don't know how good we are.
But I did find it interesting that he said that they learn about 4 or 5 times more about the team during games than in practice, and specifically in reference to the exhibition, the 2 games that they played against Ohio and Purdue. And he wants more opportunities for scrimmages. If it was up to him, he'd schedule 5 or 6 per preseason. Um, I thought it was a different side of coach, that he still gets butterflies, still gets nerves, and he's got some of that. And
No, I think that's pretty evident in his message of like every day, like putting pennies in the jar every day.
It's
like,
just nice to see the human element, though,
Yeah.
of any coach come out instead of just coach speak. So I enjoyed that. And kind of said, he even compared it to the drug of being a coach, where you got to get that fixed to where you want that feeling.
Oh yeah.
And then he mentioned that Vic has taken a huge step, but there's still such a high ceiling on Vic that he's nowhere near where he potentially could be by the end of his tenure at Cincinnati.
I thought he had a pretty good practice today.
For a guy that's gone through a lot of shit since he's been here, I don't know that there's anybody on the basketball team who's gone through more shit than Vic since he's been here, to be quite honest. I thought that was a nice little thing about
they really
Vic.
like Vic works hard. He's a good kid. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of skills. It's just a matter of it all coming together for him. I think he's getting there. Like, do I think he's going to be, one of the more dominant big men in college basketball? No. But I do think there's going to be a lot more consistency in his ability to produce this year.
Well, what have we talked about over the course of the last couple seasons, I feel like, is if you were able to get double-digit average out of your 5 spot, not necessarily even from one person, but from a collection of whoever's at the 5, and you're averaging 10+ points and 10+ rebounds. If you're getting a double-double from the 5 spot, holy shit.
Right. I did get a little bit of a word on the Purdue scrimmage, just in terms of like, I know people were the Purdue site or whoever the Purdue writer that wrote about the scrimmage, talking about the foul situation.
Okay.
Apparently, the officials were like getting game reps or something, because both teams were in the bonus 7 minutes into the second half. Oh, it gets better. So Les and Painter agreed, like, let's wipe the foul. We don't.
Who has money on the refs during an exhibition?
They both were like, look, we're not here to just like stand here and shoot free throws. So they wiped the fouls with 14 minutes to go in the scrimmage.
That's fantastic.
And 5 minutes later, both teams were in the bonus again.
What a joke.
Yeah. Like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah. Like, let them, it's a scrimmage. Let them play.
When you run with the whistle in your mouth, it doesn't mean you have to breathe through the whistle.
Right. You can, through your nose. Shove the whistle up your ass if you're blowing it that much.
I also enjoyed that it was mentioned, and I didn't get through Odie, but it was mentioned by both Wes and Micah anyway. Just CJ love.
CJ Anthony.
A lot of CJ Anthony love.
Yeah. I was like, who's CJ Love?
No.
I know. But the way you said it, you said CJ Love.
Love for CJ.
Yeah. No, he's a good player. Like, I think
this is the difference, though, between CJ Anthony and Banks, is the fact that one's actually really good at this game.
Yeah.
One should never be starting over a guy who ends up getting a Nike deal. But
all right, well, that's going to wrap it up. We will see you guys tomorrow night. That is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.